Hello friends, this is Mary Fredericks, and today we're going to make a really quick card using Hello Harvest, which is this wonderful stamp set that just came up in the July to December mini. And as you can see, it's got some wonderful sayings: wishing you the loveliest of day, you're such a blessing, hello, you are missed, and then of course the very pretty autumn stamps that we're going to be using soon. It's actually in the 70s here today in Minnesota, so fall is on the way, and I must say I'm glad. We're also going to use some of the dies that coordinate with this set, so you'll see how I use that in just a minute. And what I love about these papers is, and about Stampin' Up, is that they tell us what colors go with the papers and how it coordinates. So in this one we have Crushed Curry, Mossy Meadow, and Cajun Craze. So any of those for the card base would be fine. And my card base, as you can see here, is an 8.5 by 11 cut landscape, so that when it folds we have a 5.5 by 4.25 card. So let's begin by looking quickly at these designer papers. You know, if you've watched my videos before, I like to make them short. So, but I think they're so pretty, I just want to show you a little bit. Isn't that gorgeous? So many things. And I have a friend who, she just bought the papers and she made some beautiful cards. She didn't even need the stamp set or the dies. So that's going to be a fun part. Oh, I was going to say, the reason I had this out is that we're going to use a bunch of swatches, these very small 1.5 by 3.5 pieces of designer paper. And I cut a whole bunch of them so that I could use them, make a lot of cards. I'm going to do a card share later on this month, and I want to do a bunch. So if you just cut the 12 by 12 sheet at 3.5 and slices at 1.5, you can get a whole bunch of these little pieces. As you can see, I did I did a lot of them, and because I'm going to make a lot of cards. But as I say, if you're making one, you might as well make 2, 3, or 4. So also for your papers, the top layer, you need a black piece. So let's just start assembling this. That black top layer is 5 by 3 3/4, and it just fits these little papers I just talked about. Well, let's see. You could almost do it anyway because they're all so pretty. I wouldn't even take a lot of time planning it. Let's just stick some on there and see how it goes. So let me just start designing our paper. Of course, you want to lay it down kind of gently at first in case you need to move it. Like I said, they're all so pretty that it doesn't matter a whole lot what pieces you use. And like I said, the this green top adhesive is wonderful, but it does stick pretty hard once you get it pressed down. So I try to be gentle at first so I can move it around. So there you go. Thankfully, I was able to jostle that a bit. Okay. So that's our pieces. And like I say, you could use, you know, design this type of layout with any of the designer papers. And so then we're going to put a pumpkin in the middle of this one. But let me show you a few other tricks before we get to that. To do this pumpkin, I just took a piece of white paper, used the Mellow Mango, seemed to be just right for the pumpkins. And see how I got some ink on there using these blender brushes, and just do little circles, go round and round. I explain this in the tutorial that I'll post as well. And of course it's a pumpkin, so we don't, you know, they're not perfect. So then I take a little Cajun Craze, and you could die cut your pumpkin first and then do this. But if you're doing a whole page, it's easier to do it this way. So then, you see, we can stamp our pumpkin most any place on this page. And then to get a little more detail, I like to use the sponge daubers. Same thing. You pick up a little ink off my pad and get a little green up there using that mozzie. And you know, I like to add color here and there. You might even want to add a little more of the Cajun Craze, depending on how much you. So there you are, and then you just die cut it out, and you get pumpkins. So you can see I did a whole bunch of them at one time, coloring in my paper and die cutting it out. So let's move along. We'll put that in, and I've also die cut this banner saying for the top. And really, that is about it. One other little tip, if you like a little more yellow color, you can, watch this. If it's black and white, you can add color this way. I think that makes it kind of fun. Or add something to these pumpkins. So you want more yellow in there. The sponge daubers are great. I highly recommend having a package of them. So there you are. And this goes up here. And for the leaves, I just used these pieces and did the die cut. And I got a bunch of leaves look like this. Either with plain cardstock or with the designer paper. And then if you take your bone folder, which I don't seem to have here, and you can kind of crinkle them a little, or just use your fingernail, I guess works too. So there you have it. For the inside, I just stamped from the stamp set. And you can see the best way, if you're going to do a lot, is going to be to use your Stamparatus. So just make sure you get it all in the right place every time. Tip of the day that I just learned, I was always breaking these magnets because they stick together so strong, and when I pull them apart they'd break. Well, you don't need to use both of them, just use one, and then you're not going to have trouble with them sticking together. So there you are. Have fun stamping. Bye.